All right, good morning. Good to see all of you. So, some of you have communicated with me last semester when I was the coordinator. And also some of you sent an email this semester, or spring semester, I think. So, some of you, I don't see the faces. Anyway, welcome. So, I'll be teaching 541. It's called the Systems and Software Standards and Requirements. So that's my phone number is 7257. Right, fax number at this stage, nobody uses fax, but anyway. So let me give you a little bit background on this course, which I consider really important. It's the first course that ever should take, right, in software engineering. Some of you may know the person or Professor F.E. Brooks. He's one of the software engineering gurus. So he was the IBM 360 project manager and was professor at the University of North Carolina. And he has written many papers, research papers, and also a really important person. So what he basically says is following, all right? The single hardest part of building a software system is deciding precisely what to build. So you have to know what to build, right? That's important. Unless you're repeating whatever exists. But usually you want to create something and build a new system. And no other part of work is so cripples the resulting system if done wrong. So that means if you don't do requirements correctly, that's going to mess up everything. That's basically the first button of when you button down, right? And no other part is more difficult to rectify later. So if you start wrong, obviously everything is wrong, right? So basically, that's what it's a requirement. Another way of saying is the requirements are really important. So moreover, he said, failure to understand and control the requirements is #1 cause of project failure. So if you don't do requirements, it's basically where you specify what the exact problem is and what you need to build. Obviously, if you don't do that one correctly, everything is messed up later. Okay, so there have been 2 studies. Let me show the picture here. So why the requirements are so important? Starting right way is really important. First of all, is customer satisfaction. Okay? So if you do requirements very well, the customers are later very satisfied. So there are many studies. One is called the Beaver study. They try to figure out, so if the requirements are very well known, how many people are actually satisfied. So they found out that 33 out of 39 projects they said is successful. Basically, the customer said, I'm really satisfied with the project. If you do well. So it's over 80% of people said we're satisfied if the requirements are well known. So another important thing is the cost, right? So as you see the picture here, right here, the picture. So what basically that is shows the relationship between the cost to correct a defect. So assuming you have the study, if there's defect in your system, software system, and then if you try to rectify the problem, that defect that you have. Now, if you discover the defect during the requirements phase, REQ requirements phase, let's normalize it to be 1, right? Then people found out that if you find that defect during the specification phase, okay, specification meaning you write down, you communicate with customers, then the cost is double 2. You need 2 units. Now, if you find that during the design phase, that means basically function defined solution or the actual parts, all these things. Then cost is 6-fold, 6 units. So you can see already it's 6-fold, right? Now, if you find that during the implementation, writing code, and during the testing, the cost is 20-fold, all right? Well, 20-fold is still okay, but if you find the same defect during the maintenance phase, right? That means the system is already out to your customers, and try out, and they find defects, you fix it. So they found out the cost can be tremendous, Okay, so from 67 to 200 volts, right? So what this picture saying? Basically says that if you find defects early enough, hopefully the requirements and specification phase, right? It's much cost effective than trying to find the defects later. Okay? So this shows customers, if you do well-defined requirements, two main advantages, right? So what is customer satisfaction? What do you want? Right? You want your customer satisfied. Otherwise, they will not come back. And secondly, the cost is much less for development phase. Okay? So that's why it's requirements. Doing well, we call well-defined requirements is really important. So let's move on. All right, so the learning goals of this particular course is, number one, establish an excellent requirement. Obviously, we said that it's really important. We have really good requirements. Our software system through elaboration, so we go to 4 steps. We call it requirement engineering. Actually, requirement itself is an engineering process. Okay, we do elaboration, analysis, specification, verification. And then also, once you establish the excellent requirements to change. So how do you then manage changing requirements? And so these are 2 things you're going to learn. Right? Also, we're using doing projects using the IEEE standard form. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so required text is rigorous software requirements, 3rd edition Microsoft Press 2013. And there is also requirements you have to have. You should have it. It's a little bit thick book, but it's easy to read. Okay? The recommended text is Microsmith, implementing the IEEE software engineering standards. It's old, but still one of the very useful ones. And I provide you, since it's a grad course, I provide you a lot of things to read. Okay, so papers. Okay, so you need to read those too. So I provide you probably 5 or 6 different papers that you need to write on the papers. Okay. All right, so let's talk briefly about the coursework itself. It consists of 3 things. Okay, first of all, exams. So we're going to have 1 midterm exam, sometime in the 7th or 8th week, and 1 final exam. Right. So for the midterm exam, I'll put it this online, you can read it, but anyway, so if you cannot somehow know, you cannot participate, you're sick, COVID, you can't get married, whatever. So if you cannot do it, let me know. You guys know this, but I don't have to repeat this. So if you miss the midterm with proper evidence, then your final will have an increased weight. So instead of 30% final exam, you have 50% final exam if you miss the midterm with proper excuse. If you don't have any excuses, miss it, and then obviously, then you get 0 for midterm. Yes, sir?
Would it be possible to take the final early?
Yeah, that's actually final exams are specified by the university, the week. But if you have some emergency situation where you have to do something else, and besides this is the one specified, contact me. I'm trying to arrange that. So we're trying to help you as much as we can. We'll be using, there's Canvas called the Canvas there's exam feature. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit later once we get into the program. So exam feature. Okay. All right, the next one is 3 things project. All right, so exam and project. All right. So project is typically group projects, typical size is 3 to 4. If you have a little bit deviation, 2 or something else, or 5 or so, let me know. Yeah, so generally 3, 4 should be sufficient. But if you have anything that is not between 3 and 4, just let me know what I want to think about. Okay. So basically, it's writing, we call it SRS documents, software requirement specification documents, based on IEEE standards. So we'll discuss it later. So I don't accept any late turn-ins, but there will be some deductions, 10% automatic deductions if you're late by 1 day. So if you're supposed to turn in today, but you don't turn in today, that means the maximum you can get is 9% of available points. Then if you're late, then 1% each day you're late. So there are deadlines involved If you don't turn it on particular deadline, there will be some penalties or deductions, obviously. Okay. Third one is participation points. All right, so we have exam, we have project, and the last one is participation points. It's really important. Okay. So since it's an online course, I don't see you guys. It's not like in classroom version where I see you. I can look at your eyes. It's like, oh, he understands. He doesn't understand. I don't know that. Okay. So what I have here is participation points, 20%. All right. So participation consists of two things. One is something called chapter summaries. So 10%. There's if you read each chapter, prescribed chapter that I give you each week, then you should write a chapter summaries. Okay. Oh, we're grad student, well, you have to do this. Okay. Yes, you do. Okay, so that's one way I can know that you're actually reading the chapters and communicating with me. So that's one way I can do it, right? So in chapter summary, you should have two parts. One is what is important concept of each chapter. Okay, it talks about elaboration. What is elaboration? So I talk about that, all right? And then part two is more important. That's what I'm really looking at it. Is what is your ideas, your experiences, your lessons you learned for reading a particular chapter. So your application of that. So that each chapter should have these two parts. Okay? Content itself and the application of that particular content, specific to your situation. That's what I typically read. Okay. Again, late trainings, I'll accept it, but penalties. The other one is discussion board. Right? So for each chapter or for segment chapter, I divide it into different modules. For each module, there are discussion boards. So you should actually submit your ideas to a particular topic. And I'll discuss more when you start the semester. But you should write at least 2 meaningful postings per chapter. So we're going to have probably about 25 chapters, so you have the 50 postings. Okay. So that's one way I can read, see what your understanding is and how you're doing. So that's another way of communicating with you. If you're not completely disappeared, I cannot know, right? Since I'm not seeing you every day. So that's one way at least to communicate with you, saying, oh, you're still alive. Right? So that's so discussion board and chapter summaries. Okay, so grading policy is midterm, again, 20%. Chapter summaries 10 and board discussions 10, with final exam 30% and term project 30%, so total 100%. So the way I grade it typically, essay is 90% or above is at least A minus. What basically means is if you get 90%, you're guaranteed to get A. There's no curve, and you get automatically A minus. Now I may actually say at least, meaning you can get a higher grade actually, depending on the journal. Sometimes class do well, sometimes they don't do well. So I may even give A for 90%. So I have a little bit of latitude there to give you a better grade typically. I try to give better grade than lower grade. Okay. So that's why I discount. If I say 94 to 97 is A, then I'm bound to give you that. Right? If I say 90% at least A minus, even if you have A, then 90% I can give you A. So I have a little latitude there. So I never seen a student getting a few cases. C, never failed anyone. Okay, so I try to actually help as much as can be, of course. That doesn't mean you're gonna the first one to fail, right? So there's always exception. But usually, if you do the work that you're supposed to, at least let me know that you're alive, right? And let me know you're doing some work. Then I do my best not to fail you. Okay, but if you obviously don't do anything, then there's nothing much I can do, right? So if you have any problem, let me know what the problem is. So I'm trying to help you. So in order to succeed in this course, obviously some of you are coming back, and what is the factor to get an A, right? Obviously, I understand that. So first thing you should do is course syllabus. You should read it. I'll make my website available tonight. Okay, so go to the campus, and you should have 541. You should be able to click it, and then you can look at the course syllabus. So read that. Again, I just described that already here, but you should read that one more time. And more importantly is the course calendar. So I put the course calendar there. That means all the dates, right? What I divide I think 5 different modules. So each module you have to do certain tasks. Then each module has deadlines. So you have to submit chapter summaries, you have discussion boards. So all the dates are that you have to do is prescribed to you. Okay. So make sure you print it and keep it with you. Take a picture, say, oh, what is due today? Okay. So that's really important. And also, so read the prescribed chapters for each book and use the presentation slides and voice for your references, and also turn in the assignments for each week and participate in discussions. Then midterm exam, term project important. So today you should try to figure out what could be my really good project me. Okay, that's really important. So 3 or 4, possibly 5, possibly 2, but generally 3 or 4. And then final exam. Plan. Planning is really important. Okay. So final notes. Just to mention here, some of you have taken, I'm sure, online classes before, right? Some of you are new, totally new, all right? So this online classes are really different than in-classroom lectures. There are different kind of online too. There is synchronous, there's asynchronous. Our program is asynchronous. That means there's no formal lecture defined, so 7 to 9, whatever. So you do it at your pace. Okay? So it's important. There's a difference between in-classroom lectures. Obviously, you can see here. There's no lecture, specified lecture, say 7 to 9 or something, and communication, right? So no formal meetings, especially asynchronous way, and then no face-to-face meetings, right? And we'll be again using the Canvas as the medium, main medium, and some other chats also will be used. Study method is a little bit different, so you have the more disciplined. So in classroom version, you have to come to class, so you are forced to do things. Here, nobody will force you to do things. Okay? There are deadlines you have to meet, but nobody's watching over you saying, hey, you have to do this. Okay? Except there's reminders, right? So you have to be more disciplined, especially assignments and reading materials, exams. You have to meet the deadlines. Otherwise, there will be a lot of action. Sometimes it takes some patience, right? So the response is not right away. In classroom version, you can ask a question, I can answer it right away, but obviously in online version, you cannot do that. It takes a little bit of time, right? There's a delay. And also, Canvas, sometimes a lot of people are on Canvas, and it's slow, and network may be down, and whole university system may be down. Okay? So sometimes you need more patience. But it's much better than, in your case, a lot of you are working, right? And you don't have to come here. Our dean said that parking is terrible. Okay, so you don't have to worry about those things. So it's much better in that sense. Okay. So make sure that you check emails or announcements. Typically, if I make announcements on Canvas, it goes through your email. So, and you should log in at least 2 or 3 times, possibly every day, at least once. Okay. So log in online, see if there are new announcements. If you have any questions, send them typically email, all right, or chat room. I open up my chat room during your office hours, so you can come by office hours, or Zoom or chat room. So I try to respond typically within 24 hours or less, except it's a Sunday. So Sunday is probably I will not be able to respond. But generally, I respond very quickly, within a few hours. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Do your teammates have to be in the same section as you?
No, that's good. Thank you for asking. Actually, administratively, I merged them together. So you see, if you look at the participants, click on that, you'll see all your cohort mates. So you can choose anyone from section 50, 51, so that's okay. Yeah, cool question, thank you. I merged them actually together already. Yeah.
For the exams, are they administered on a single day or?
Yeah, in my case, I give you entire weekend. So Saturday and Sunday. yeah, you have to talk more about, but for this purpose, yeah, you have entire weekend to do it. From typically 9 o'clock Saturday and 10 o'clock on Sunday. Anything else? So if you have more questions, again, I'm going to open my website sometime tonight, so you can click on the canvas and see what's available. And if you have any questions, send me an email. I'll talk to you. Okay, thank you.